Okay, we'll start with the next topic in deadlock, methods for handling deadlock. There are three ways you can handle the deadlock. First solution is uh, we need to use a protocol to prevent or avoid deadlock, ensuring that system will never enter a deadlock state. That is, to ensure a deadlock never occur, system can use either deadlock prevention or deadlock avoidance scheme. Okay, the deadlock prevention, it provides a set of methods to ensure that at least one of the necessary conditions cannot hold. That is, it may be mutual exclusion, no preemptions, hold and wait, and circular wait. If one of the conditions cannot hold, then you can prevent the deadlock. Okay, next one we have deadlock avoidance. Deadlock avoidance scheme requires that the operating system will be given additional information in advance concerning which resources a process will request and use during its lifetime. With this additional knowledge, the operating system can decide for each request whether or not the process should wait. To decide whether the current request can be satisfied or must be delayed, the system must consider the resources currently available, the resources currently allocated to each process, and the future requests and releases of each process. Okay, next solution to handle deadlock will be allow the system to enter deadlock state and detect it and then recover. And third case is ignore the problem altogether and pretend that deadlock never occur in the system. The third solution is used by the most of the operating system, including Linux and Windows. It is then up to the application developer to write programs that handle deadlocks. Okay, if the system does not employ either deadlock prevention or deadlock avoidance algorithm, then the deadlock situation may arise. We'll see one by one. So first one is the deadlock prevention. So for a deadlock to occur, each of the four necessary conditions must hold. By ensuring that at least one of these conditions cannot hold, we can prevent the occurrence of a deadlock. We elaborate on this approach by examining each of the four necessary conditions separately. First, we'll see mutual exclusion. So, mutual exclusion condition must hold for the non-shareable resources. At least one resource must be non-shareable, and so mutual exclusion access is not required for the shareable resources. For example, read-only files. If the several processes attempts to open read-only files at the same time, they can be granted simultaneous access to the file. The process never needs to wait for a shareable resources. But mutual exclusion must hold for the non-shareable resources. For example, mutex log cannot be simultaneously shared by the several processes. Okay, the example for the shareable resources here, read-only files, and for non-shareable resources it is mutex log. Okay, next one we have hold and wait. To ensure that the hold and wait condition never occur in the system, we must guarantee that whenever a process requests a resource, it does not hold any other resource. That is, one protocol we can use here requires process to request and be allocated all its resources before it begins execution. We can implement this provision by requiring that system calls requesting the resources for a process. Okay, next one we have another protocol. Allow the process to request resources only when the process has none allocated to it. That is, before it can request any additional resources, it must release all the resources that is currently allocated. But in these two protocols, both these protocols have two main disadvantages. First one is resource utilization is low. That is, since resources may be allocated but it is unused for a long period. Next disadvantage is starvation is possible here. A process that needs several popular resources may have to wait indefinitely, because at least one of the resources that it needs is always allocated to the some other process. Okay. So next condition is no preemption. Okay. Third necessary condition for deadlock is that there will be no preemption of the resources that they have been allocated. To ensure that this condition does not hold, we can use the following protocol. So, if a process that is holding some resource request, another resource that cannot be immediately allocated to it, then all resources currently being held are released. Next one, preempted resources are added to the list of processes for which the process is waiting. The process will be restarted only when it regains its old resources as well as the new ones that is requesting. That is, if a process requests some resources, we first check whether they are available. If they are available, then we allocate them. If they are not, we check whether they are allocated to the some other process. That process is waiting for additional resources. If so, we preempt the desired resources from the waiting process and allocate them to the requesting process. If the resources are neither available nor held by the waiting process, the requesting process must wait. While it is waiting, some of its resources may be preempted, but only if the another process requests them. A process can be restarted only when it is allocated the new resources it is requesting and recovers any resources that were preempted while it was waiting. So this protocol is often applied to the resources whose state can be easily saved and restored later, such as CPU registers and memory space. It cannot generally apply to the such resources such as mutex, locks and semaphores. Okay, last one we have circular wait. The fourth and final condition for the deadlock. One way to ensure that this condition never holds is to impose total ordering of all resource types and require that each process requests resources in an increasing order of enumeration. That is, for example, let R is equal to, we have m number of resource type, R is equal to R1 to Rm. We have R1 to Rm set of resource type, and each resource type is assigned with the unique integer number. I'll consider R1 is assigned with 1, R2 is assigned with 2. So each and every resource type is assigned with a unique integer number, which allows us to compare two resources and to determine whether one precedes another in our ordering. Because here we need to consider total ordering of all resource types. So we need to define one-to-one functions for this. So R1 is assigned with the 1, R2 is assigned with 2 and Rm is assigned with m number. Okay, we need to define one-to-one function. We need to define one-to-one function f from R to n. So that is, each and every resource type is assigned with the unique integer. N is a natural number. Okay, natural number. So here there is a mapping from the resource type to the natural number. Suffice if I consider. So there is a ordering. So we are assigned with the number. So we can compare the two resources. That is, f of Ri should be less than f of Ri plus 1. So in the increasing order of enumeration, so you can each process can request the resources. Consider there are n number of processes, n plus 1 processes, that is P0 to Pn. So Pi is waiting for the resource Ri. Pi is waiting for the resource Ri, and which is held by the Pi plus 1. Then since process Pi plus 1 is holding the resource Ri while requesting resource type Ra plus 1. So we have conditions that f of Ri should be less than f of Ra plus 1 for all I. because we have taken the number here. For R1 we have assigned with number 1, R2 we have assigned with the 2. So f of R1 is less than f of R2. So we should assign the number, we need to assign the unique integer number in the increasing order of the enumeration. Okay. But this condition means that shall consider there are n plus 1 processes P0 to Pn, P0 to Pn. So this condition, that is f of R0, that is the P0 is waiting for the resource type R0, but it is holding resource type R1. P0 is waiting for the resource type R0 and it is holding the, I'll consider f of R0 less than f of R1. This indicates this is for process P0. So P0 is P0 is waiting for resource type R0, but it is holding the resource type R1. Next, P1, process P1 is waiting for resource type R1 and it is holding the resource type R2. Okay, so this process will continues, that is f of R0 less than f of R1 and so on, less than f of Rn, last one, less than f of R0. That is, last case is nothing but, so this is for process Pn, last process Pn. For process Pn is waiting for the resource type Rn, but it is holding the resource type R0. Now here in total ordering we cannot take f of R0, so starting with it is f of R0 and ending with f of R0. So f of 0, it cannot be less than f of R0, so which is impossible. So therefore there can be no circular weight.